black sheep, an expression that was born in the fields of England, where dark wool had no commercial value, and the sheep that carried it was separated from the flock. Over time, farmers began using the term to describe anything or anyone who stood out from the group and caused trouble. The name left the fields, entered families, and became a synonym for whoever doesn't fit in, whoever complicates things, whoever is too different to be accepted as they are. And you've carried that label to this day. The black sheep of the family, the odd one out at work, the one who thinks too much, feels too much, questions what others accept with their eyes closed. Not because you didn't want to belong, because, since childhood, you were never able to pretend to be something you weren't, and that cost you. It cost you invitations that stopped coming. It cost you sideways glances. It cost you entire years carrying a label that you felt pressing down on you, before you even understood what it meant. What no one told you is that this name was never a flaw. It was a map that explains why you never fit where you tried to, why you stayed silent when you wanted to be heard, why you made people uncomfortable without doing anything at all, and why all of it, every single bit of it, had a direction. There is an enormous difference between being rejected and being set apart. The world saw rejection in you. God chose separation. And there is a specific reason why the Father let that label stick to you for so long. My name is Daniel. I am the watchman of the origin of the chosen ones. And today you are going to understand the 5 reasons why you are considered the black sheep, and why each one of them carries the hand of God hiding you on purpose. If you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel. There is a lot of valuable content coming, and you'll want to be here when it arrives. Let's begin. The first reason you're called the black sheep is this: you threaten the places you enter, and God uses that to protect you from people who cannot carry what you are going to become. There is a type of person who cannot watch you grow in peace. It isn't necessarily malice. Sometimes it's their fear disguised as criticism, their insecurity wrapped up in advice. But the effect is the same. Every time you begin to take up more space, someone appears to remind you that you shouldn't, to make you lower your voice, to make you be less, to make you stop acting like you're something. God knows this pattern. And he knows that a chosen one who is still being formed cannot survive being exposed too soon, too early. The Bible tells us that Joseph spent time in Potiphar's house before he reached the palace. That wasn't punishment. It was preparation, away from the eyes of the brothers who had already tried to destroy him. If he had appeared before his time, he would have been torn down before he was ready. If you felt invisible at the very moment you most wanted to be seen, it's possible that God was protecting something in you that wasn't ready to be revealed yet. What looks like a cocoon is not a tomb. The second reason is this: God needed to pull you away from the noise so he could give you what only arrives in silence. There are things God cannot say to you when people are around. What is deep does not arrive with noise. It arrives in those late-night hours when you wake up for no reason and something inside you is more alive than it is during the day. It arrives when you are alone, with no one to impress, and a clarity shows up that you can't explain where it came from. The black sheep label gave you a gift wrapped in ugly paper. It pulled you out of the noise. While others were busy being seen and applauded, you stayed on the outside. And in that outside, with no audience, you learn to hear a voice they don't even know exists. Samuel heard what no one else in the temple could hear. Elijah, deep inside a cave after losing everything, heard God in a breeze so still that any noise would have covered it. Both of them had one thing in common: they were alone when the voice arrived. You were alone longer than you wanted to be too, and that solitude was not wasted. If you spent years feeling like you were going through this alone, with no name for what you felt, with no one who understood where that difference came from, there is something that was written for exactly this moment. The Origin Codex is the complete map that reveals the 12 marks that were placed in you before you were born. Marks that explain why you feel what you feel, why you never fit where you tried to, why silence has always found you. With it comes 7 materials that go deeper than anything ever explained before, uncovering every layer of who you are. The link is in the first pinned comment, but it won't be there for long. Let's keep going. The third reason is the hardest to hear and the most important. God hides you because what is growing inside you is too large to fit in the place where you were trying to belong. A seed that is becoming a tree cannot grow inside a small pot, not because the seed is flawed, but because its destiny is bigger than the space it has. And when the roots start pushing, the pot cracks, and everyone looks at the cracked pot and says, "Something is wrong with it." You spent years trying to fit into places that squeezed you, in relationships where you had to shrink what you thought, in jobs where your depth was read as slowness, in places where your silence was read as arrogance, and your sensitivity was read as weakness. And you tried, you really tried, to be the size that others expected. What no one told you is that the problem was never you being too big. The problem was you being in the wrong place. God did not hide you from the world forever. He removed you from the small place while He prepares the right one. And the difference between the two is enormous. The small place asked you to be less. The right place is going to ask you to be everything. And that is why the Father did not put you there before you were ready. The fourth reason you're called the black sheep is this. You see what others prefer to ignore, and that disturbs people more than anything you could ever do. You never needed to say much. Your presence alone was enough to create discomfort. You walk into a room and something shifts, not because you want it to, not because you do anything, but because you carry a clarity that reveals what people would rather not see. What is wrong? What no one says out loud. What everyone knows but nobody touches. And then society does what groups do. It blames the one who exposed the problem instead of solving the problem. The Bible tells us that the prophets were not rejected because they were wrong. They were rejected because they were right. Jeremiah did not choose the role he was given, but what he saw could not stay inside him. And when he spoke, the people who didn't want to hear called him a troublemaker, a problem, the sheep that wouldn't follow the flock. God places this ability in specific people because the world needs those who will not close their eyes, but it comes at a cost in relationships with those who prefer not to be questioned. You are not the problem, you are the sign that a problem exists. What looks like rejection is in reality proof that you are different, and different makes people uncomfortable. Spending years trying to fit into a place that was never made for you leaves a mark. It's not just exhaustion. It's a question that won't go away. Maybe the problem really is me. And finally, the fifth reason is this. You are breaking a pattern that your family has carried for generations, and those who are still trapped in it feel that before they even understand what is happening. There is something that passes from parent to child without a name. It's not just trauma. It's a way of living, of making yourself small, of accepting what should never be accepted, of swallowing what hurts and calling it normal. And each generation teaches the next that this is how life works, that questioning is ingratitude, that fitting in is what you do. You were the first to refuse that. Not because you are better than those who came before you, but because something inside you, something that was placed there before your birth, simply could not swallow what everyone else swallowed. And that made you, in the eyes of your family, the problem, the rebel, the sheep that wouldn't follow. But what they called rebellion was refusal, a refusal to carry what was never yours to carry. The Bible tells us that when Samuel went to anoint one of Jesse's sons as king, the father didn't even call David. The whole family was there. David was outside tending the sheep, and it was from exactly there, forgotten by everyone, that God's plan reached him. Sometimes the Father keeps you separated from the old pattern because He is starting something new in you. And whoever begins something new always pays the price of being the first, the strange one, the different one, the one no one understood yet. But the first of something new is not a black sheep. They are a foundation. What your family called a problem may be the beginning of something that your children and your children's children will inherit as a blessing. God did not leave you behind. He put you out in front. Chosen, everything you've heard up to this point has only one root. You are not the black sheep because something went wrong with you. You are the black sheep because something in you is different, and the world around you doesn't know what to do with that. Think about everything you've lived through up to now. The invitations that stopped coming. The conversations where you felt like an outsider even when you were right there. The years trying to be a size that wasn't yours. The feeling that no matter how hard you tried, you were never enough for the group. And at the same time, too much for the people who were supposed to accept you. That weighed on you. And for a long time, the easiest conclusion was the cruelest one. The problem is me. But look at what you heard today. You didn't fit because you were a threat. You went silent because God needed a quiet place to speak to you. You didn't belong because you were too big for the space they were offering. You made people uncomfortable because you carried a clarity that exposes what they prefer not to see. And you were called a rebel because you were the first in your lineage to refuse to carry what was never yours. It wasn't rejection, it was separation. And separation has purpose. The dark-wooled sheep was not less valuable. She was different, made for something else. And that is what you are, made for something else. For a place that is still being prepared. For connections that are still on their way. For a mission that begins exactly where the flock ends. God did not push you away from the world. He pulled you away from the wrong place, while He builds the right one. The label you carried as shame was, all along, a description of your destiny. Now I need to ask you one thing. Write in the comments which of these 5 reasons landed deepest with you today. It doesn't have to be a long message, but write it. Because putting into words what you have carried in silence for so long is already an act of courage. And every comment here is read with great care. You didn't land here by accident. You came here marked. Remember who you have always been.